What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 577 of #AskGSM here today for Wednesday, December 18th, 2024. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great week so far as we get closer and closer to Christmas. Now, I will point this out before we go any further. Next week, obviously, the show falls on Christmas itself. We are doing a show next week. I got a question about that. We are doing a show next week. It will probably still go up on Christmas. But what I might do is record it on Tuesday. So if you want to send in a question to the show, and it'll probably be a small mailbag anyway, but if you want to send in a question, be sure to do so on the earlier side, probably by Monday night. I'll start, asking for the questions on Monday. We'll likely record it on Christmas Eve and put it up on Wednesday. There's a small chance I might record it on Tuesday itself, or rather on Wednesday itself, but very small. So very likely we'll do it on the Tuesday. We'll do it on Christmas Eve, which is still a holiday, but hey, fuck it. We record all the time. We take no days off here on WrestleRant, but just a heads up on that front. But you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook.com as well, Facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Drop a comment / your question on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. So let's get right into it here. Jordan B. from YouTube, and I also apologize if my voice is still slightly shot. I was at Saturday night's main event a couple days ago and at NXT last night in Lowell, so been a busy couple days. I'm headed to the WWE HQ event in a couple of hours, so very busy week, but an exciting one. Nonetheless, Jordan B. from YouTube, their question was, which Hell in a Cell match do you feel doesn't get a lot of praise? For me, it's Edge versus The Undertaker at SummerSlam 2008. That's a good one. I love that match. That might be my favorite Hell in a Cell match. It constantly changes. My list does. My number one for a very long time has been and probably still is Batista versus Triple H from Vengeance 2005. I think that match kind of gets the respect it deserves for being as good as it is. The big blow off to Batista versus Triple H. Batista beating Triple H for a third straight time. A brutal, bloody affair. Just an awesome match. I do also agree, though, Edge and Taker, I feel like it gets the respect it deserves just because I love it so much. But from other people, probably not as much. That is a great match, and even though it fell right at the beginning of the PG era, it wasn't bloody, I don't think, but and the going to hell thing was kind of goofy afterward, where Taker sent Edge to hell. But the overall match was great. That even served as a bigger blow-off to a multi-year feud between the two. Not even a story, but like a feud. And, I thought they had a really, really good match. So as far as the other ones that I kind of looked up and thought, maybe these don't get the respect they deserve, three came to mind. New Day versus Usos, that people still talk about, but not a lot of people, though. That's definitely the greatest tag team cell match that we've ever had. And there haven't been a lot of them. There have only been like a few, but that was an excellent one. Just a perfect blow-off to that feud. It felt like a worthy culmination to a very lengthy rivalry between two amazing teams, two top-tier teams at that point and even today. So that's an awesome match from Hell in a Cell 2017. I was kind of thinking about matches that have taken place, or that did take place, during the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view era, just because those matches kind of get slept on, a lot of which were not great or that memorable. But I thought Roman Reigns versus Rey Mysterio was a lot of fun. Was not the best cell match by any means in the last 5 years, or the last 10 years, but it was during COVID, so it took place in the empty Thunderdome. So it didn't really have a crowd with it, but I thought it was a really fun match. It actually took place on the Father's Day weekend edition of SmackDown. Not even at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view itself. They bumped it up by 2 days. I think it opened the show. Kind of felt like Roman Reigns had a fucking vacation plan, and they sent him home early. Didn't even headline the show that night, I don't think, but it was a really, really good match. I thought they had a great match that night, and between Roman Reigns and Rey Mysterio. So that one comes to mind. And then lastly, from the earlier years, I think Undertaker and Randy Orton is a very underrated Hell in a Cell match. Again, also served as the culmination to a very lengthy feud between Taker and Orton, all 2005 long. Orton proved he could hang on Taker's level. Their other matches are better regarded, the ones at SummerSlam and at WrestleMania. The casket handicap match at No Mercy is, fine for what it was. But I think the Cell match does kind of get slept on. More often than not. It's a really, really good match, and I think it's worth checking out again for people that haven't seen it in a while. I think, maybe not today, but the 20-year anniversary, 19-year anniversary is it's definitely this month. I know Armageddon 2005 happened this month, and it took place on that show, so definitely check it out when you get a chance. I think that's a great, very underrated Hell in a Cell match. Mike does it from YouTube. Their question was, with WWE bringing back the Winged Eagle title this past Saturday at Saturday Night's Main Event, it got me thinking, do you think we will see John Cena bring back the Spinner WWE title or a new version of the Spinner if he were to become the WWE Champion next year and break the record, and would you like to see this? The Spinner WWE title is trash. I think a lot of people would agree with that. Would it be nice for one more run for John Cena? Yes. I'm not going to say I'm begging for it back. I think Cena just holding the current WWE title or even the Winged Eagle Championship would be much better. But for just nostalgia reasons and also just to sell a fucking shit ton of titles. Because you know they're going to want to market that. Like the CM Punk title, they just re-released like the CM Punk. I don't think it was a spinner belt, but it was like CM Punk's very own unique designed WWE Championship belt. And it was cool. Like it had the 434-day design on it because CM Punk held it when it was the spinner belt. So I think that's what they modeled it after, which was cool. You know they're going to want to sell a ton of those if Cena does win, if hopefully becomes world champion one more time. So can it happen? Yes, it could totally happen. Do I want to see it happen? I'm not begging for it, but for nostalgia reasons, for a brief run, as long as it weren't to become the permanent design for the WWE title from that point forward, as it was when he last won it 20 years ago, that's totally fine. But we'll see. We'll see if that's the case in 2025. I don't think it will be, but that's not a bad idea. I think that's a pretty good idea, actually. Emmanuel A. from YouTube, their question was, do you remember ECW Dismember 2006? That's a fucking tongue twister. And have you heard of Paul Heyman's original plan to make CM Punk win the Extreme Elimination Chamber and make Big Show tap out in the beginning of the match? Yes, I have heard that many times. So Paul Heyman obviously being behind ECW back at that point, the WWE version of ECW. That was his last show in WWE for a very long time. It was such a shit show. The main event was a shit show. The booking around it was a shit show. They ended up making Bobby Lashley the ECW champion, which, worked out. Bobby Lashley did well in that role, but it didn't really, it didn't embody Extreme. It wasn't the epitome of Extreme. It was Bobby Lashley, of all people, as the WWE champion, or rather as the ECW champion. Paul Heyman instead wanted CM Punk. He wanted to make a new star in CM Punk and have him tap out the Big Show, I think immediately, because Big Show was the reigning champion at that point. Vince McMahon thought differently, and they crowned Bobby Lashley the champion instead. So they did make a new star, essentially, in Bobby Lashley on that show. It just wasn't CM Punk. CM Punk obviously did go on to become ECW champion the following year, but it didn't happen in the way that Paul Heyman would have wanted it to. Just at the time in 2006, and Paul Heyman immediately quit the company. So that show is well regarded as one of the worst of all time for a reason. It's just a fucking terrible show. And the Elimination Chamber match itself, I don't know if it's the worst that they've ever done. Certainly not among the best, I'll tell you that much. But that decision with CM Punk did not end up coming back to bite him, because he did end up winning the ECW championship and becoming a big star in the years that followed, even without Paul Heyman being in the company. But there's a lot of lore surrounding that show and that match and that decision that, like I said, ultimately led to Paul Heyman leaving the company. So it's worth looking into if you're not familiar with it. Chris W. from YouTube, their first question was, he says, hello there, Graham. Hope your week is going well. Excited for Christmas and had a fun time at the new Saturday night main event last Saturday. And so far, you're having a good week. On that same topic, I heard Saturday night's main event, while not perfect, started off with a bang at the Coliseum. It's funny, I've been a fan of the sport for 28 years, but I have never been to the building. What is with its long and illustrious history? I've been to the new Long Island Arena, the UBS Arena, USB. You wrote USB. I think it's the UBS Arena. I would think it's USB too. For AEW's first show there. I remember the show being a lot of fun, the food gourmet and delicious, and the lines, while not Arthur Ashe Stadium bad, were long and tiresome. I mean, I feel like that's everywhere, though. I feel like every place the fucking lines, the lines are long. But I mean, that also could be a case of like these buildings having limited food options, and that's why people all kind of gravitate to the same places. But anyway, he goes on to say, what are some similarities and differences between the USB, as he wrote, and the Nassau? I can't speak to that. I've never been to the UBS Arena. They're actually doing Slammiversary there. I know tickets went on sale yesterday, but I'm hoping to attend because it's not far. It's probably about a 90-minute drive from me. So the Nassau one was a little bit farther. It's about 2 hours, but I've been to that one before. I went there for World's End last year. Getting into the building this time, I don't think this was a WWE issue. I had no issue with this at World's End last year. But for the WWE show on Saturday, they opened the doors really late. And it wasn't just for like me, media, like whatever. Like it was everyone. And it was kind of a shit show getting in because the doors were delayed. And I heard people were still trying to get in like before the show even started. That's why it didn't look like it was a complete full crowd around showtime. They kind of all piled in around the opener, during the opener. So I don't know what went on there. I think that was a Nassau issue. But like I said, I don't think that's a recurring problem. I don't think that was a problem last year when I went during World's End about a year ago. The Nassau is fine, though. I mean, it's a much older arena. I think they renovated it, though. I thought they closed it during COVID, and I thought they were getting rid of it. Obviously, it's not going anywhere, but I think it might have been bought out. I thought they renovated it. Maybe not. I mean, I don't know what it looked like previously. The inside is your basic arena. It looks like an older arena. It's not, like, amazing, but it's fine. I think there's a pretty good view for everyone for the most part from where I sat last time and where I sat this time. I'm sure the USB, as you called it, the USB arena is much nicer because it's newer. The traffic is probably, I can't say it's better. Getting into Nassau this time was better. For whatever reason, like getting into the actual like parking lot and shit was fine. Last time when we were backed up a bit, just on that main stretch of road. I think the UBS arena is right next to the highway. I mean, I think this one, it's not right next to the highway. It's a little bit off. The UBS arena, I think, is right next to the highway. So I think that might make it better for a quick exit, but it might also make it worse because everyone's trying to get out on the highway and it's one car at a time. So I don't know if that's any better or worse. I don't know what the traffic is surrounding that, but the traffic in Long Island in general is tough. So, I think that's going to be bad regardless of whether it's Nassau or UBS. But I'm hoping to go there next year and hopefully kind of compare the two. Ask me again next year from that Slammiversary and we'll see how different the two arenas are. I would assume UBS is better just because it's newer, but Nassau's fine too. And you mentioned it's illustrious history, and they've had a lot of shows there in the last fucking 25 years. It is funny that you said you've never been there, but you've been to UBS. I would rather recommend, suggest checking out Nassau just so you can also compare the two. Being a New York native, I believe yourself. If you are from New York, I thought you were from New York, Chris. Maybe you're not. Your second question was, what are your thoughts on the new Raw logo? Personally, I think it kind of looks bland and corporate. It doesn't have much oomph to it. What about you? And do you think since the new regime loves nostalgia so much, just bring back the old Raw is War logo during the Attitude Era? Honestly, I'm kind of half surprised they didn't. Just because it's on Netflix and they want to push this agenda. They're not outright saying this. They have actually said the opposite. That it's not going to have any, rated R qualities to it just because it's on Netflix. They've actually pushed back on that. But I could see them leaning into it. There's no restrictions. It might be, it could be a lot more lenient. I feel like it's going to be the exact same product, honestly, quite frankly, from that standpoint. But I wouldn't be shocked if they had used that old logo or at least refurbished it because people really like that old Raw's War logo. They did not. They went with a new logo. I actually really like the logo. It's funny you say that because the other new logos they've used, I'm not really a fan of. The NXT one is fine. The SmackDown one, I think, fucking sucks. And the one they used for, or SmackDown, I should say, the one that they were rumored to use for Raw, the one kind of wrapped around, yeah, it looked different. Alexis liked it because it was different. It looks fucking awful. It was trash. So I do complain a lot about that sort of shit. But the new logo for Raw, honestly, maybe because it is boring. I like the corporate shit. I don't know. I actually do like it. I think it looks nice. I like it a lot. So I'm a fan of it personally. Your next question. What is the greatest sweet chin music that you have ever seen from Shawn Michaels? I mean, it's got to be the Shelton Benjamin one, right? The Shelton Benjamin one from Raw in 2005 during the Gold Rush tournament. Benjamin jumps up, timed just perfectly. The Hogan fan standing up and pointing right after he does it. Everything about that execution was fucking great. Other ones that come close, I mean, that wasn't when I was a fan, when I was watching wrestling. That was years before, obviously. But the one at WrestleMania 28, when he hit the sweet chin music and Triple H followed up with a pedigree and people thought for a split second that the streak might be over. It wasn't. But that was a great combination, so that one ranks high up there. As far as other ones, I mean, probably any of the sweet chin musics he hit in those matches with Taker in 2010, 2009, those were great. Those matches were great, obviously. Some really good sweet chin musics there. I'm trying to think of other ones. I'm sure there's plenty of other ones, obviously. There's a lot of great Sweet Chin musics that he hit out of nowhere, but that one to Benjamin just stands out as being the best. There's definitely another one that really is quite great as well. I think there was one where John Cena was going for an FU, AA, whatever, and then Michaels jumped off his shoulders and then hit a Sweet Chin music and then fell on top of him for a cover. That one stands out to me for some reason. I don't know if it ended a match. I think that did end their Raw in England match, but I could be wrong. But yeah, the one to Benjamin still stands out as the greatest of all time, in my opinion. Brandon A. from YouTube, he says, "What's up, GSM, and Merry Christmas. What Christmas movies have you seen lately, and what are some of your newer favorites? Are there some more classic Christmas movies that you have not seen? I need to know because a few years ago, I did a thing called the Christmas card for your show, which I think I remember actually. He said where I booked famous Christmas characters against each other. You decided the outcomes. I would like to do that again this year with a new card, but it would be helpful to know how much you are familiar, who you were familiar with. For example, last time I booked Clark Griswold and George Bailey in a match, and you picked Clark Griswold to go over because you thought he would be more fierce because of his pipe bomb near the end of the movie. That definitely sounds like something I would say, so I definitely said that. But you said, you added, you hadn't seen It's a Wonderful Life, so you didn't realize how confrontational George Bailey gets sometimes. Just want to make sure that the matchups are even from a character standpoint and from a familiarity standpoint. Yeah, I remember that being a lot of fun, so if you did another one for next week, that'd be great. As far as movies that I've seen lately, newer ones, for newer ones, Violent Night is fucking awesome, so definitely incorporate that version of Kris Kringle into your Christmas card from the Violent Night movie 2 years ago. I love that movie. That was excellent. I don't know what year you did the Christmas card, because this was a couple of years ago. I don't know of how many more newer Christmas movies I've seen, honestly, since the last time you asked me this question. I've seen Violent Night. That came out. I saw Four Christmases for the first time about 2 years ago. That's not really, I don't know if that's one that you would use on the Christmas card of yours, but, that was a good one. I watched Red One this year. That was mediocre, I would say. I don't know if you even fucking saw that movie. I don't know if you would incorporate any characters from that film, but I did see Red One. Just overall, as far as movies that I've seen, on my Letterboxd, I have a list of my top 20 favorite Christmas movies. So you can go off of that, but just in a nutshell, The Christmas Vacation you mentioned, that's among my favorites. The Grinch from 2000 is among my favorites. Violent Night, Die Hard, Christmas with the Cranks, classic. It's so bad, but it's a classic. Deck the Halls is not among my favorites, but I recently, reviewed that on Letterboxd. So I guess you could put that one up there if you wanted to. The holiday Star Wars Christmas special, the Life Day special from fucking 1978. I did watch that for the first time, I think, 2 years ago, so I guess you can include that if you wanted to. Ultimate Christmas Present, that's the Disney Channel one. 'Twas the Night, another Disney Channel original Christmas movie. The Year Without a Santa Claus, of course, Heat Miser, those guys. Or is that the other one? Is that Santa Claus is Coming to Town? I don't know, but I've seen both of those, obviously, a lot. The Rudolph one I've seen. What are the other ones? The Santa Claus movies, Home Alone. I haven't seen all the Home Alone movies, but the fucking good ones, the important ones I've seen. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else. A Christmas Story I've seen. It's just fucking awful. I will stand by that. Jingle All the Way, great flick. That's a good one. Like I said, check out my Letterboxd for the full list of all the Christmas movies that I've seen if you want to go off of what I've seen to incorporate. I have still not seen It's a Wonderful Life. I'll probably have to watch it either this year, I don't know if I'll have time this year, but one of these years I'll have to watch it, and you can incorporate George Bailey into your card, but you still can. I just won't pick him probably because I haven't seen the movie. So just keep an eye out for that. Noel from Facebook, their first question was, first and foremost, happy early Christmas, Kwanzaa, and Hanukkah to everyone who celebrates. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Noel. Noel, Christmas alliteration there. I know your name is No, and then your last name begins with an L, but, Noel, still Christmas themed. Anyway, you said, what would be your top 5 best/worst decisions in WWE this year alone? Best, worst, I don't know, but a lot of people weren't in favor of the draft, I'll tell you that much. The execution of the draft this year left a lot to be desired. I didn't really mind it personally, but a lot of people don't like it, so maybe do away with it. once and for all, and find a better way to kind of switch superstars around. Not the superstar shakeup, that shit was terrible, but like, you can find a better way of doing it, I think, than what they've done the last couple of years. Getting rid of Vince, I mean, you said booking. I mean, you didn't actually say booking decision, so fucking firing Vince McMahon. Easily, far and away, the best decision they made all year is severing ties with that fucking loser. That was back in January. Allowing Cody Rhodes to finish his story. I mean, worst decision was kind of going against that, having Cody win the Rumble and then giving the title shot to The Rock, seemingly. That was the worst decision they made all year. The best decision was going back on it. But it's hard to kind of give them credit for something they fucked up in the first place. So I guess that would be both the best and worst decision they've made all year, quite honestly. Another thing that stands out, I'm not really going in any order or any like amount because I can't think of like top 5, so to speak, but like I just enjoyed a lot of what they've done this year. Like the Punk McIntyre feud, really leaning into that. That was great. Giving LA Knight a championship finally was great. Pushing Braun Breaker the way that they have has been great. Jey Uso has been really, really popular this year. Wasting the Money in the Bank briefcase would rank up there for me. I thought that was stupid. I know they got it out of the way by doing that, which people are more in favor of, but I thought the way they did it was dumb. I thought it was stupid. So that would probably be on the top 5 for me. Also, the underutilization of Chad Gable. Like, he's had a great year as far as the matches he's had with, Sami Zayn, among other people. But it just felt like when he had all this momentum, they didn't follow up on it properly. And he's still feuding. Now he's back to feuding with the Alpha Academy. Like, what the fuck are we even doing here? You know what I mean? So that really bothered me. And the best decision, in addition to pivoting, was also giving Cody Rhodes the championship at WrestleMania. Cody Rhodes, needed that moment at Mania. He needed it last year, but I think they made up for it well enough. I don't know if it made the 39 loss worth it, but, it did add to the excitement around WrestleMania 40, and that whole great main event, Bloodline Rules, was amazing. So, they've made a lot of good booking decisions this year, and just shit that they've done, and bringing back Jesse Ventura, for example, reinstating Saturday night's main event, like shit like that has been really cool too. So I'm sure there's a lot more than what I'm even thinking of right now. I think splitting the tag titles personally was a highlight. They haven't really done much with said tag team titles, but like redesigning those belts was a long overdue. I think those belt designs are fucking awesome. Big fan of those. Like the speed shit is stupid. I thought it was kind of a cool concept at first, but no one really watches it anyway, so who gives a shit? That was kind of a dumb decision. Not worst decision, but like unnecessary. I'm sure there's other stuff, but that's just the stuff that comes to mind off the top of my head. Your second question, in your opinion, do you think Kevin's parents and family in the first 2 Home Alone movies are the real villains of the franchise for how they tried Kevin? I don't know what you mean by they tried Kevin, but maybe forgot Kevin is what you mean. I don't know, or how they treated him, I guess is also what you could mean. Yes, they are absolutely the villains of those movies. Not Marv, not the 2 fucking, the Wet Bandit folks. The parents are just stupid. I rewatched the first movie on Friday. Haven't rewatched the second one so far this season, but the parents are just so astronomically dumb. Like in the first movie alone, let alone in the second movie. Seriously, like you rewatch that second one, it's like, after the events of the first movie, how do they let this happen again? I mean, it is just astronomically dumb that he ends up in New York City by himself. It's crazy. It's crazy. So those parents are the worst parents I've ever seen in any film ever. They have to be. Maybe not the worst, but they certainly rank up there. So the parents are awful. And then they get mad over him. They get mad at him for racking up a $1,000 fucking, room service bill. Like, it's who gives a shit at that point? You forgot your son in New York for fucking Christmas season again. You forgot him again. And you're upset that he's... that he used the room service. Like, okay, like, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? That he used the credit card. You're lucky he's even alive. So, those movies are great, though. The second one is just so absolutely stupid, but they are awesome movies. Christopher L. from Facebook, his first question was, what do you think is the most overrated and underrated rivalry in modern-day WWE? Is Randy Orton and Christian really underrated? To me it is, because I feel like 2011 was all about Cena and Punk. Orton and Christian is, to me, one of the best feuds in the last 15 years. I fucking love that feud. So I'm going to go with that one. Also like the Ambrose-Rollins feud. I don't know if it's underrated, but like their feud from like 2014 through 2016, 2017, even into 2018, which at which point fell off a cliff because Ambrose turned heel and was doing the gas mask shit. That shit was terrible. But yeah, I don't know if I would say that was underrated, but definitely Orton and Christian from 2011. And I'm sure there's been other ones in the last number of years. A lot of them just blend together, quite honestly. But that's certainly among them. Overrated rivalries, I mean, for WWE, Roman and Brock, I mean, up until their most recent rivalry from 2021 through 2022, that was awesome. I thought that feud was great. And I did write Brock as being Roman's best rival because of that last feud that they had. And some of their other matches were mostly terrible, and the feud itself was not great, but, it progressively got better over time. And for WWE, I think they treat that like it's the modern day, like fucking Hogan Andre or whatever, Austin Rock. It's not. It actually defined a generation for the worse, to be quite honest with you. But still, I mean, that might be overrated in WWE's eyes. As far as other feuds, like I thought Cena and Orton was always overrated, rather. I know they had a lengthy feud, but and they did have better matches than Roman and Brock overall, obviously. But still, I just think that they could have done a much better job with, making that feud more interesting from 2007 through 2009. They just had a million matches, and it's like, it's storyline-wise, it's hard to care. There just wasn't really anything overly interesting about their many, many matches together. They did have some really good matches together, but the actual feud itself was not great. So I would probably say that is or you said modern day. I don't know if that's modern day. That was 15 years ago, but I would say it's modern day. Like in the last 5 years or so, I'm not really sure. I'd really have to think about that more, but those are some of the ones that come to mind. Their next question, what would you say are the top 5 matches for both WWE and AEW this year? I think I gave my list last week or a couple of weeks ago. Maybe I didn't. But just off the top of my head, I didn't want to make a complete list because we'll do that at, the end of the year on WrestleRant Radio. We do the Year in Review Awards, which you can still vote in, by the way, over at WrestleRant.com. Polls close on Christmas Day. But we do the best match and whatnot. AEW definitely had WWE beat as far as, like, better matches all year. The matches alone between Hangman and Swerve, Swerve and Danielson, Swerve and Ospreay and Danielson were all fucking incredible. Like, those 4 or 5 matches were just the best all year. For WWE, the Bloodline Rules match at Mania, obviously, between Roman and Cody was fantastic. That was one of the best matches all year, for sure. I'm trying to think of what else. Also at Mania, Bayley and Io had a great match for the WWE Women's Championship. Rhea and Becky had a pretty good match. Not like one of the best matches of the year, but it was really good. Toni Storm and Mariah May from All In was another excellent match. Trying to think of what else. Mercedes Moné and Chris Statlander, Willow Nightingale. I think AEW just had better matches all year. A much colder product, but better matches all around. I'm just trying to, like, for WWE, I'm trying to think of, like, what matches did they have overall that were, like, not even overall, but just matches in general. Like, Cody and Roman stands out. The triple threat at Survivor Series was great. The men's War Games I really liked. I think people would say that the triple threat for the IC title was better, though, with Kaiser, Breakker, and Sheamus. So that would probably be, I don't know if it's top 5, but it's probably up there. I'm trying to think of, like, what else? Like, what other matches did they have that really stood out? Like, all the Bloodline stuff wasn't, like, great matches, aside from Roman and Cody at WrestleMania. The Rumble itself was good. Oh, obviously, Punk and McIntyre. What am I thinking? How am I forgetting that? Punk and McIntyre from Bad Blood was also, obviously, an excellent match. And if not the match of the year, the second best match of the year behind Cody and Roman. So, again, there's definitely other matches. I also really enjoyed underrated one here, Ilya Dragunov and Trick Williams. That was an excellent match from back at Vengeance Day. I know they had matches like before that and after that. That to me was their best one. I think it was on that show that Carmelo Hayes turned on Trick Williams as well. That was an awesome match. So that would also rank up there for me personally. Do you agree or disagree about Bianca and Jade winning the Tag Team of the Year by PWI? I mean, what's the criteria? Not criteria, but like what's the grading period? Like when do they start and when do they end? If they started like late last year and go into this year, I mean, no. Are they really the tag team of the year? No. Is this like all of wrestling? Is it like just women's tag team? I don't know exactly what you're referring to. If it's for women's tag teams, then obviously they're the women's tag team of the year. If they're just the tag team of the year in general, if you include the men, I would say that's ridiculous, but quite honestly, like, who else would you put on that list? The Young Bucks did not have a great overall year. They had some really good matches this year, but it was probably their weakest year overall so far in AEW, to me, in my opinion. In WWE, like, you also had FTR, they had not a great year overall. In WWE, it was kind of split. Like, there wasn't really one tag team that really stood out. The Bloodline held gold at one point. A-Town Down Under, no. Awesome Truth, no. DIY wasn't great all year. The Machine Guns just came in. The Profits, no. Honestly, the tag team of the year, if we're including any brand, male or female, it's Fraxium. Easily Nathan Frazier and Axiom. They are a fucking great team. Of any company, honestly. I don't watch New Japan and shit, but of all the companies I watch, they are the tag team of the year. But I don't know if that includes men. If it does, then it should be Fraxium. If it doesn't, then Bianca and Jade, I suppose. I mean, honestly, I don't really know what else to choose. Their last question, Chris's last question. What did you ask for on your Christmas list this year? Good question. I did ask for a new laptop bag. I needed one of those. I've had the same one for a long time. I just recently started using another one that I already had, and it's good, but I needed to upgrade to a better one, and I'm pretty sure Alexis got that for me. That and a luggage, like new luggage bag or whatever. I've had like duffel bags like forever. I've never had an actual like travel case, and I think Alexis got that for me as well. So those were the two main things, and a few other small things, but primarily that stuff. Not a big like asking for stuff sort of person. Some WWE merch as well, but I think I already got it myself, honestly. Like, I wanted a Machine Gun shirt, a Motor City Machine Gun shirt, but I got it on a WWE shop deal with like leftover fan cash that I already had. So I thought I love that shirt, so I ended up getting that for myself. And I got a CM Punk holiday sweater, shirt, whatever that I wanted, and I ended up getting for myself. So I think there was like a sweatshirt or something that I wanted specifically, and I think she ended up getting it for me. I don't remember. Honestly, don't remember. But yeah, just not a whole lot of stuff. I'm honestly content with whatever. I really don't need much anyway. But usually it's like one of those type of bigger gifts a year, and it was the luggage case or the laptop thing, and I think she got me both. So can't complain. I'm very lucky. I'm very fortunate. At Reborn Again, John Ritland from the Twitter machine, his first question was, with the year nearly over, what would be your 3 favorite and least favorite wrestling pay-per-views? Another good question. For favorite, WrestleMania 40 is number 1. 2, honestly, would be Backlash. I fucking love Backlash. I thought this year's Backlash show was really, really good. In France, that crowd was great. That was one of my favorite B shows they've ever done. So definitely those would be my top 2. To include a third one, it would probably be from AEW. I'm trying to think of their best show. Probably All In. I thought All In was probably their best show all year. They've had some really good shows this year. I think All In may have been their best. Revolution was also great, so I want to give an honorable mention to Revolution in March. But I think All In is probably their best all year, in my opinion. For their 3 worst, not AEW, but just in general, 3 least favorite wrestling pay-per-views all year, I think Survivor Series might have been WWE's weakest. But I don't know if it was like my least favorite, though. Crown Jewel I even liked, but I don't know. It just wasn't... I like Crown Jewel. I thought it was a good show. I'm just trying to think of like least favorite shows. Was there like a least favorite show? Like, even WWE's pay-per-views, even their weakest this year, was not bad. Like, they did not have a bad show this year, I thought. Like, last year would have been probably Payback and fucking Fastlane or some shit. They didn't even really have that this year. Maybe Clash of the Castle, even that was a really good show overall, but I don't know. I mean, even my viewing experience for it, I didn't watch it live. I watched it on delay later on. It might be Crown Jewel and like fucking Clash of the Castle in Scotland or some shit. I don't remember. But for AEW, Full Gear, wasn't a big fan of Full Gear. I thought it was a good show, a very good show, but they've had better shows this year. So maybe Full Gear. Wrestle Dream was good. All Out was really good. I don't know. I'm sure TNA had a couple wrestling pay-per-views I wasn't a fan of. but I can't really, none of them stand out as being bad by any means that I can really think of off the top of my head. Ring of Honor, even though the brand is cold as ice, and they're trying to do a better job with it now, even their pay-per-views this year were pretty good overall. So I enjoyed those. There really wasn't many, least favorite pay-per-views that I had this year. The MLW shows are fucking abysmal, honestly. Some of their shows were good, and then some of them were not so good. Those were probably the worst shows I saw all year. NWA doesn't do pay-per-views anymore, so I can't really include those. They do events, but they separate it into separate episodes of Power. So I can't really even say NWA anymore. Probably MLW, but of the main companies, it might be the ones that I mentioned, but even those weren't least favorite. Maybe Wrestle Kingdom. Wrestle Kingdom this year, I don't really remember much about it at all, despite watching the entire thing. Probably Wrestle Kingdom. It was a long show, hard to carry. The product is cold. I'll probably still watch it in January, but we'll see. I'm on the edge of not watching it anymore every year. I try to watch it every year if I can, but this year I probably will, just because they're also doing Wrestle Dynasty the next day, I think. But, the product is so cold right now over in New Japan that it's kind of hard to care. Your next question, John, also check him out on the YouTube machine, if I mentioned that before. Real Honesty with John Ritland. He does great work. But he mentioned non-wrestling related, but in addition to Sonic 3, the Mufasa Lion King prequel, that also comes out this week. Firstly, what are your thoughts on these Disney live-action rehashes? Secondly, will you be watching it in theaters? Side note, I'm at 327 movies for 2024. Holy fuck, John. And there's only there's still 2 weeks left in the year, so you could still include a handful more if you wanted to, but make sure to take a break at some point. You deserve it. As far as the Lion King movie, I will be seeing it. Yes, I will be seeing Sonic 3. I like the Sonic movies. Those are actually pretty good. I thought the last Lion King live-action movie was good. Thought it was pretty good. It was probably just good. I haven't gone back and watched it since. I actually don't hate the live-action remakes as much as most, but I haven't seen all of them. That's the key. I haven't seen Aladdin. I haven't seen Mulan. I thought Beauty and the Beast was pretty good. I actually enjoyed that movie a lot. I like that one. What else have they done? Honestly, I think didn't they do one? The Little Mermaid one I watched. I don't think you liked it, John. I thought it was fine. I thought it was good. I thought it was solid. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the Disney live actions, though. I mean, the movies that I mentioned I thought were good, but that doesn't make them necessary. A lot of these movies are incredibly fucking unnecessary, and some of them just aren't good, from what I've heard. Like I said, I think if Aladdin or Mulan were that great, I probably would have seen it, but I didn't. And Lion King was good, but it's eh. Like Lilo and Stitch, I'm excited for because I'm a big Stitch fan, obviously, but the movie itself, does it need to be made? No. Am I worried about it being made, and are they going to ruin it? Potentially, yes. So we'll see how that pans out, but they're just not really necessary, but they're doing it just as another way to make money. They don't have to come up with original ideas for live action shit or Pixar shit or animated shit. They could just come out with remakes and sequels. Disney is as guilty of it as anyone, if not more so, with their fucking movies in the last 10 years. And they've had some real good movies too, but some of these live action movies and animated sequels are just so fucking unnecessary. Like Moana 2 was not necessary. Frozen 2 and 3 are not necessary. But they're doing it to make money, so I get it. It is what it is. But I will be seeing The Lion King. I heard it was good. I was going to watch it anyway just to see how it is. But we'll see how good it actually is when I see it probably closer to Christmas. I'll probably see Sonic 3 first, and then Lion King at some point soon after. We'll see. At Iwagu91 from Twitter, their first question was, considering she's been taunting him over coming up short at Saturday night's main event and lost the World Tag Team titles finally, do you think Liv Morgan will show no sympathy towards Finn Balor the following Raw by citing him by not leaving Damian Priest alone as the reason why he lost? For clarification on that question, he later added, it's that he cost Priest the World Heavyweight Championship match at Survivor Series. That's what I meant about Liv telling him he was supposed to leave Priest alone. Yeah, they're obviously teasing tension for a reason. They teased tension within the Judgment Day for a fucking year and a half before they finally did the big development at SummerSlam. So hopefully this also does not go on for 6 months. I don't need to see Balor at odds with the rest of the group for 6 months. They can jump to it by next week. Honestly, I would send Balor to SmackDown. I would have Dominic Mysterio kick Balor out of the group, send him to SmackDown, and that's how you write Finn Balor out of the group. And I don't know if they still call themselves the Judgment Day or not, But that's what I would do personally. And then all the original members of the Judgment Day would be gone from that incarnation from when they first started the Judgment Day in 2021, or 2022 rather. And then maybe they can call themselves something different, or just ditch the group entirely, or whatever they want to do with it. So, yeah, I think that is leading somewhere. Liv might be the new leader. I don't know if Finn goes babyface. I'm kind of skeptical as far as this big push that's rumored for Balor. I'm not buying into it personally. I've heard that so many times. I just don't see it happening at this point, even with Triple H in charge. Even with Triple H in charge, Balor's gotten a lot of title shots, hasn't won a lot of anything aside from tag titles. But I am curious to see where they go with it from here. His second question, continuing about Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn from last week, do you expect the Royal Rumble to be where they'll finally rekindle their rivalry and set up their WrestleMania encounter? That would make sense. But it depends, though. It depends. If they're going to do Cody and Kevin, I was thinking they would do it at the Rumble, but they have another Saturday night's main event the week before, and they're going to need matches for that show. So I think it's very likely that we could see the WWE title defended on that show between Cody and Kevin. You know they're getting at least one more match, and it should not be on that Netflix Raw show. That show's stacked enough. They don't need to do Cody and Kevin on that show. They could do it either at Saturday night's main event or on the Rumble pay-per-view itself. If they do it at Saturday night's main event the week before, they then can put Kevin Owens in the Royal Rumble a week later. And Sami Zayn, I'm sure, will be in the Royal Rumble. So, yes, I could totally see them doing that. And then that's where they, brawl or face off or whatever, and that sets up a Mania match. But I'm pretty confident in saying at this point that it is the Mania match they're headed for, especially after Owens said in that car interview with Michael Cole a couple of weeks ago, oh, yeah, Sami Zayn, I'm keeping an eye out for him, and, we'll see where they head into that with WrestleMania and whatnot. So I'm pretty sure that that's obviously in Owens' mind, and that's where they're going with him heading into WrestleMania, him and Sami Zayn one-on-one. So if there was any place to kick it off, it would be at the Royal Rumble, probably in the Men's Rumble itself. Their last question here, your current thoughts on Eva as the NXT General Manager. I'm not a fan personally. I just don't think she does a great job. I think Nick Aldis is great. I think Adam Pearce is great. And it's not even like, oh, it's a female. No, I mean, they could have plenty of females in that role. They've had female general managers. AJ Lee, I thought, was obviously great in that role many years ago. Vicky Guerrero got old after a long time, but she came into her own as a heel in that role for a long time, very early on. She was overexposed after a fucking decade, but, she was, very good in that role. So I just don't think Eva really, she's improved, but I just don't think she has that certain factor that makes her like an intimidating force. She just sounds like she's reading off lines. Every time I hear her talk or do a segment, she's obviously enjoying herself, and it's probably better to put her in that on-air role compared to putting her in the ring, because we saw how that worked out, and we didn't see her have a lot of matches, but that clearly wasn't going anywhere because that schism shit sucked, and she didn't show a lot of improvement on that front. So maybe making her like a different sort of character on the show is for the best. I just don't know if making her the GM was the right call. I don't know if, obviously, they're not going to bring back William Regal in that role. I think they should, because he's much better at it than she is. I just don't know what else you do with her. It just kind of feels like a nepotism deal to me, where it's like, oh, it's The Rock's daughter, so we got to use her in some sort of role. Oh, all right, let's make her the GM. But she's just not that good. Again, she's improved, and she's better in that role than she was in the ring, but that's not saying that much. So, I'm not a big fan of Eva as the NXT GM at all. I think she's honestly not good, and I'm probably in the minority on that. She has improved, like I said. I will give her credit on that front, and she's clearly trying. It just sounds like she's reciting lines every fucking time I see her. Every single time she's on the show, and she's on the show a lot. Bill Meister 88 with the last 3 questions of the episode. He said, "Hi Graham, how deserving was it for Chelsea Green to be the first Women's United States Champion? Personally, for all her hard work over the years and her fantastic work since rejoining WWE, it was the highlight of Saturday night's main event. Do you agree?" Yeah, I would say it was. I mean, I thought it was a fun show overall. Not a lot else happened otherwise. But I would say that. I would certainly say that was the highlight of the show. And it was an overall very fun show, but not an overly newsworthy show by any means. She deserved it. She definitely deserves it. It was a great moment. She's a perfect fit for that title right now. I think she can really benefit from mid-card belt. You guys asked me about that months ago. And who are the 2 names I always kept going back to? Michin and Chelsea Green. And sure enough, they ended up in the fucking finals of the tournament at Saturday night's main event. So, yeah, great moment. Hopefully Michin is champion at some point. She also deserves it. She's put in the work. I'm a fan of hers and have been pretty much since the beginning. I met her a long, long time ago when she was first starting out, like 2009, 2010, and she was great then. So I've been a fan of her ever since. But, yeah, no, I think she's definitely deserving of it, and it was really cool that it fell not only in Long Island, which is where her husband is from, so people were super into that from that standpoint, but she's also gotten herself over. And it was also on the 7-year anniversary of when she won the TNA Knockouts World Championship back on December 14th, 2017. Exactly 7 years to the day from when that moment aired, which is pretty cool. Your second question, with Punk vs. Rollins set for the Raw premiere on Netflix, have WWE pulled the trigger too soon on the feud? Where do you think this leaves both men for Mania, as a lot of people presumed it would be the match for the world title at Mania? I don't know how many people thought it would be the world title match at Mania this year, just because Gunther's currently the champion. So I don't know how likely it was that they were going to have one of them win the belt before then and then face each other. Yes, a lot of people thought that'd be the Mania match, myself included. As far as putting it on that first Netflix Raw, that's fine, provided that it's more than just a one-off. If they just go in different directions and they have different Mania plans for both guys, that's disappointing. I don't want this feud to be wasted on a fucking month-long Raw filler feud. Like, Rollins and Bronson Reed lasted longer than that. Like, Punk and Rollins is a big-time feud. It should go into Mania. I mean, having one match before then, have a kickoff match, essentially, and not wait until Mania did their first match. Like, they've had matches before. They had matches in WWE a fucking decade ago, so it's not like it's a first-time ever Ospreay versus Danielson type match. Like, they've done it before, so it's not that big of a deal. It is a big deal, but as long as they continue it going into Mania, I just don't see people are clamoring for Punk and Roman at Mania. Like, why, though? Even Drew and Roman, to me, makes more sense than that. Punk and Roman, I want to see at some point, but to rush into it for Mania doesn't even make sense. I just don't see how that would make sense. What is the favor? A main event match with Roman Reigns, non-title, if Roman isn't champion and Punk isn't champion? That's silly. That's a match to me that you could do non-title, but I think it would make more sense if there was a championship and Paul Heyman's allegiance is on the line. I would not go into that match now. I would save that, seed planted for down the road and not do it anytime soon. So I hope they are having a match on that January 6th Netflix show, which is great. I was skeptical, but it's really cool. As long as they go back to it for WrestleMania, and they do like either a series or they do the rematch at WrestleMania, then I'm all for it. Last question for the episode, also from Bill. He asked, non-wrestling related, but what is a must on Graham's plate for Christmas, and what food is a hard pass? Also, this is the last hashtag AskGSM before Christmas. I hope you and Alexis have a great one. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that. I hope the same for you and your newborn, the missus, and everyone else. I hope you have a great Christmas. Like I said earlier, though, this will not be the last hashtag before Christmas. I'll mention that again in a second. As far as what's on the plate for Christmas, it's not as important as Thanksgiving, because I would say just, Thanksgiving, turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, blah, blah, blah. We didn't have stuffing this year. We forgot it, so we didn't end up doing stuffing for Thanksgiving, but like the mashed potatoes, roasted potatoes, turkey, that sort of stuff was great. For Christmas itself, just, ham. I like ham. Turkey, the same thing as Thanksgiving. There's nothing that's a must, honestly, aside from just like brownies or chocolate chip cookies, honestly. Like on Christmas itself, to me, it's not really as much about the food. The food's good. That's more about Thanksgiving. For Christmas, it's more about the days surrounding Christmas, where it's about the food for me, if that makes sense. So 2 days before Christmas, which would be this Monday, my brother and I, for like the last many years, probably the last 7 years or so, we've done something. It's an annual tradition where we watch Christmas with the Cranks, a terrible movie, but we love rewatching it. And we not only rewatch it, but we rewatch it with Domino's Pizza. And I know that sounds gross. Domino's Pizza is, bare minimum, garbage, whatever. But we like it. It's a guilty pleasure. I never really get it beyond that one day of the year. But we have Domino's Pizza, watch that, and then play some Lego Star Wars. That's a new addition to the tradition. But we've always watched Christmas with the Cranks on the 23rd for like the last decade. We threw in the Domino's aspect of it, a little bit later on. But that's not exactly something I'm having on Christmas. It doesn't scream Christmas fancy food, but, I like having Domino's the 2 days before Christmas. And then the day before Christmas, on Christmas Eve itself, we've always gone to my uncle's house on Christmas Eve. There was a stretch there for a couple of years We couldn't because of COVID and just sickness and stuff like that, but they did do it again last year, and that's been a tradition as far as I can remember since I was a kid. Going there on Christmas Eve, and they have amazing food, like great fucking Italian food, angel hair pasta, shrimp, you name it, they have it. Especially great Italian food, and I'm not like a big super Italian food guy, aside from like a chicken parm or whatever the fuck, but like they have amazing food there every single year. So that to me is more about like what's a must on my plate. The Italian angel-haired pasta they have on Christmas Eve. And also like these little moon pies. I don't know what the fuck they're called. They're basically, it's like cheesecake. It's like half chocolate, half cheesecake. I thought it looked like a moon. Or it was like half vanilla, half chocolate. They're little like cupcakes. Guilty pleasure. Just amazing. So fucking good. I have not seen them anywhere else but my aunt's house on Christmas Eve. So those are also a must for me every single year, although it doesn't fall on Christmas itself. But like Bill had mentioned there at the end of the question, like I just said, we will be doing a video next week. As crazy as that sounds, we will still be doing one. I am not taking the holiday off. We never do. I don't think we've taken a week off for this show in the last fucking decade. Honestly, like there have been periods where we stopped doing it for a little while. That was a long time ago, where I couldn't do the show back in 2015 because I got a new laptop. So there was like a 6 week stretch where I couldn't do it. Not even 6 weeks. It was like fucking 3 weeks that we couldn't do the show. And I think there was a week during Mania Week last year, not this past year, but last year, where I recorded it, didn't put it up until a week later. But technically, I still recorded it. Just didn't go up until like a week later. So beyond that, beyond those instances, we've done a show every single week. We did it on Christmas 5 years ago. I don't think this year will be any different. So like I said earlier, just to remind you guys, if you want to send in a question to the show, be sure to do it early, or at least by Monday night. Tuesday night, it might be too late. I will very likely be recording the show on Christmas Eve itself, Christmas Eve morning. I'm aiming to do it, so keep an eye out for that. And we'll probably put it up on Christmas. So the upload schedule will remain the same. If they're doing Raw Talk on Monday, I'll do a Raw Talk review for Tuesday on Christmas Eve. We'll record hashtag on Christmas Eve early in the morning. So again, get your questions in by Monday night, and we'll put it up on Wednesday. And Wrestle Rant Radio should be up on Thursday per usual, breaking down the 2024 Year in Review Awards from WWE and AEW for myself and Mr. Marceau, who I had the pleasure of seeing last night in person at the NXT LOL show, which was a lot of fun. So, yeah, a lot to look forward to. That's all next week. And in the meantime, though, if you want to send in a question, like I said, by Monday night, be sure to do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Be sure to drop a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. Have an awesome one, folks. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Have a very happy holiday season, and I'll catch your ass down the reindeer road.